With the jails on Rikers Island officially closing in 2026, the big question now is what to do with all this newfound space. With real estate in New York City in short supply, ideas for the island have sparked a citywide conversation across the 5 boroughs, with some of the questions being, should we sell the land to real estate developers? Or expand a LaGuardia Airport? Or should green infrastructure be the priority? In partnership with Public Square Media, we're continuing our Justice Week series and our search for answers. Here with insight is Claire Wise, architect and urban design partner at WXY. Claire, welcome to the program.
Thank you, glad to be here.
So first, for people who might not know, just tell us a little bit about your position with WXY and what it is that you've done, especially with the city.
So just to give a bit of context on what an architecture planning and urban design firm does in New York, we're known for projects like rebuilding the Rockaway Boardwalk after Sandy, reformulating of the Battery, which has a bike path and a carousel called Sea Glass. And most recently, our firm did a new plan, future plan for the Brooklyn Navy Yard.
Oh.
And a desegregation plan for District 15 for the middle schools in Brooklyn. So planning and physical planning and design are very open. We take these hard questions and try and help with the future.
Okay, but it sounds like all of the aspects of the city that we enjoy but may not actually stop to think about how they got there.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's in that context, really, not because we specialize in the justice system, which we actually don't.
Okay, but ironically, since we are talking about the justice system, with the closing of Rikers Island, that does leave this plot of land that won't be at least being used as a jail anymore. So I just wanted to find out, what were your thoughts on what is the best way that you can see for the city to move forward?
So the city is a series of islands, and Rikers is another island. And we've had Randall's and Ward's Island to contend with, Governor's Island. We have there's all sorts of islands, and including Manhattan, which is an island. But Rikers, in a way, followed the pattern of some of the other islands like Roosevelt Island, where we isolated a use that no one wanted to have in their neighborhoods, and we turned it into a rather difficult situation, which Judge Lippman has termed a penal colony. And really the opportunity of Rikers in reforming our justice system is to see it as a resource for New York again. And some of the big ideas that have popped out are kind of making a new generation of infrastructure in New York. You know, we have sewage treatment plants, and we don't have biogas, and we're not looking at scale alternative energy, and Rikers gives the city a chance to do some of these things at a big scale.
Well, speaking of some of those green energy infrastructure projects, there's of course going to be push and pull in terms of where the funding for something like that is going to come from. But is that something that can be done in conjunction with perhaps something that the public might see as more practical, like expanding LaGuardia Airport or something like that?
Well, I think that, and from what I've seen of the feasibility study, you absolutely could expand LaGuardia and still fit a lot of these new kinds of infrastructure in. But you might not be able to fit all of it. And runways have a lot of security issues. They have a lot of constraints. It really stretches the height limits for development, even in the South Bronx, even farther. There's noise. You extend that runway and you might have even noisier conditions for neighbors around here. And I think that we have to look at airport needs kind of more regionally. Regional Plan Association has really kind of pushed some ideas about rethinking Newark, about how to get one-seat rides everywhere, how to kind of make greener airports. And, over and over again, increasing the runways on an airport that's already pretty vulnerable might not be the best solution in the long term.
And you mentioned earlier in your comments about looking to some of the other islands as an example of where we could possibly be going.
Well, first one is memorialization, right? I think one of the key things is to really learn lessons from Rikers and to create if not on Rikers, but the potential is on Rikers, a real memorial and a testament to the lives broken and lost, and how we're going to actually look at true justice in the future. And a number of our islands also have served as memorial, you know. And equally, I think we can look to Governor's Island, where they're testing out ideas, but they made 2 giant hills and sorts of things.
It's become quite the performance space now.
And
There's
it's been quite the
festivals out
concert
there, yeah.
space. So it might be possible to combine these infrastructure investments with things like places like for giant concerts.
Well,
although maybe at the airplanes it will still be too noisy.
Well, of course, the ongoing issue for a lot of people in the city is that we need more housing, we need affordable housing. And is that something that you see as the best use of space, considering Rikers' location, its history, et cetera?
So, you know, we're back to the lessons learned. Think about the Rockaways, which is very vulnerable, and how many public housing and nursing homes and you know, extended care facilities we put out in a place that's very vulnerable. And although Rikers itself is actually pretty well above the floodplain, it's inaccessible by transit. Again, there's, you know, airports are not the cleanest uses, and in itself, it is a brownfield site. I mean, it's a site that needs to be cleaned up. There's all sorts of toxic uses. So Rikers needs to be cleaned up before you'd even think about even temporarily housing people. But the real opportunity is we have all sorts of places for garages and storehouses and wastewater treatment plants and energy plants that are right in the Bronx and on the waterfront in Queens. And if we can move them to Rikers, then you have places already in neighborhoods to build more housing. And I think a lot more affordable housing should be built. But ideally, it's built in neighborhoods in conjunction with access to waterfront, where people who are already in cramped situations in their own neighborhoods can actually find new places to live.
All right, so perhaps not quite a luxury development going up on Rikers
You know, I would say other places are kind of more ripe for that than Rikers Island. And in a way, Rikers Island is sort of a perfect centrally located site for kind of making the city work better.
All right. Well, you've definitely laid out some very excellent suggestions. I would hope that some of the people, our lawmakers who might be making these decisions, are watching this segment, so
I hope so.
they can get the wheels turning. But thank you so much for joining us and giving us some idea of the fact that once we close this jail, we do have a plot of land that we have to decide what to do with. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. Thank you.